Just the other day, I put out a video on a repo that was taken down off of GitHub. In response to that video, a helpful person by the name of Chris sent me a very interesting email. Just watched a video where you mentioned you were unable to view the Rockchip repo due to the takedown. Wanted to bring your attention to a website I just recently discovered called the Software Heritage Archive. From what I can tell, it's similar to the Internet Archive or the Wayback Machine, except it only handles source repositories. And honestly, I had no idea this existed. And considering that there are a bunch of videos about this from Software Heritage and basically no one else, and they all have at most a couple hundred views, I would hazard to guess that most of you probably don't know about it either. So here we have the archive site, archive.softwareheritage.org. Now, they have a bunch of regular crawlers going around, finding code that exists out there on Bitbucket, just regular Git repos, the Debian repos from GitHub, GitLab. They go through Go, they go through the GNU repos, NPM, Fedora's Pagure system, Python's package index, and a whole bunch, NixOS as well, and a whole bunch of other places. Also, they have some discontinued stuff, we don't really care about that, along with some partners they work directly with who provide their code to the Software Heritage Archive. Now, whilst Git is the main thing you're going to see in the archive, it is not the only thing being supported. We also have Mercurial, Subversion, CVS, Bazaar, and just straight up tarballs. And this is going to cover most of the modern repos you're going to see. Yes, there are some other things out there, but that's probably like 99% of the code. And with tarballs, that covers you for anything else that might be sitting around there. Now, just archiving things isn't very useful, so let's go and find something on the archive. If we have a link to something we know exists, we can just go and use that link directly, and it's going to take us directly, it's a little bit slow, but directly into that repo. Another thing we can do is search based on the metadata. So we know the URL is github.com/neovim/neovim. So instead of searching like that, I can search for that. And again, the archive isn't the fastest thing out there, so do give it time. And it's going to find everything that matches that thing you searched for. So in this case, once it actually goes and checks what the origin types are, we're going to be able to see where things are from. We have a git checkout, we have git, and then a bunch of other things that are all related to NeoVim to some extent. And you can also go and filter by how the source code was actually found. So right now it's searching by any. If I wanted to go by CVS or Bazaar or Mercurial or finding an NPM package or a Python package, all of those things can be filtered on as well. Or tarball down the bottom here as well. Basically, anything you want to filter on can be filtered on. And you may have also spotted that SWHID as a way to go and find something. If you don't know what that is, that makes sense because I didn't know what it was until I read their FAQ either. The SWHID, the Software Hash Identifier, is a unique and permanent identifier for a piece of software derived directly from the code's content. It became an ISO/IEC International Standard 18670 on April 23rd, 2025. So it is a very, very new standard, and there is some documentation on how you actually go and compute that number, but you're probably not going to do that, so if you just want to search the archive based on metadata, that's probably the easier way to do so. And once we're in a repo, it's basically the same as any other GUI for a forge. We have all of the files here. If I want to go and take a look at them, let's check this JSON file. Again, it's a little bit slow, but everything is here, and you can see all the code, everything you want to see for every single file that happens to be in the repo. When there is a README, the README is going to be shown as well, which is also very nice. If the repo has any history, there is going to be that option to check as well, and when that decides it wants to load, then we'll be able to go and check back through the history of the repo and see any earlier state that happens to exist. Now, downloading the code is a little bit awkward because when we go to the download button, it's not just going to suddenly download it. There is a waiting period. They will send you a link to it, all this stuff, or you can just wait for it to download. So it does take a bit of time to do that. Everything here is a little bit slow, but I'd much rather have an archive that exists than an archive that doesn't, right? Even if the archive is slow, slow is better than not existing. Now, whilst they do have crawlers here and things are going to be automatically archived, you also have some level of control over when things actually do get archived. So there's this save again button here, and that is going to go and prompt for a save. Also, we have the save code option, and we can go and just add in a link to a SourceForge, add in a link to Git or CVS or Bazaar, or add a table link, whatever you want to use, and then it's going to go and grab that. But not only that, let's say you have your own GitLab or Gitty, for example, and you want that to be archived in here as well. Well, we can also go click on Add Forge, and assuming that I actually had an account, because obviously they don't want just random people to be submitting nonsense, you could have that also added into the archive as well. It's not going to be an immediate thing. There will be a review process and all this good stuff, but if it's something that makes sense to be archived, then it will be archived. This is a really cool service, and I have no idea why it doesn't get talked about. I feel like the only reason it doesn't get talked about is people surely don't know it exists, because otherwise, like, the Internet Archive gets talked about all the time. This, I've never heard a peep outside of that one email. So, they say their goal is to collect all publicly available software in source code form together with its development history, replicate it massively to ensure preservation, and share it with everyone who needs it. The Software Heritage Archive is growing over time as we crawl new source code from software projects and development forges. So down the bottom here we have some nice graphs, and they have, 27.5 billion? The number's right here, Jesus. Okay. 27.5 billion source files, and quite a few projects and commits as well. Let's go and jump over to the main Software Heritage website, because there's more to it than just the archive. There is some explanation on sort of what else they're trying to do here. And not just what else, but why. As you might expect, there is also a way to access the archive here as well. I'll zoom out a bit. This giant yellow box, I guess you're not gonna miss it, but why is the background here yellow when nothing else on the side is? I guess they really want to make sure you're not going to scroll past it. Now, even though I wasn't aware of this, it's not like they're not being supported by anyone. They do have quite a few notable sponsors. IBM, Microsoft, Huawei, some French thing. Anyone who knows French, tell me what that is. Google, AWS, the University of Paris, I presume is what that says. Some other European stuff, GitHub, and a bunch of other various things. It's not a massive amount of sponsors, but this is still something that apparently these companies knew existed at least. Now let's take a look at the mission page. Our ambition is to collect, preserve, and share all software that is publicly available in source code form. On this foundation, a wealth of applications can be built ranging from cultural heritage to industry and research. So, collect. Software is an essential part of our lives. Given that any software component may turn out to be essential in the future, we do not make distinctions and collect all software that is publicly available in source code form. We recognize that there is significant value in selecting among this software some collections of particular interest, and we will encourage the construction of curated archives on top of the software heritage. So they're going to collect everything, and if you want to have CLI software or Linux software or anything else like that, you can build that curated version on top of that. We keep track of the origin of software we archive and store its full development history. This precious meta information will be carefully harvested and structured for future use. Preserve. Software is fragile, and we are unfortunately starting to lose it. We preserve software because it contains our technical and scientific knowledge. We preserve software because it is the means of accessing all of our knowledge. For this to be sustainable, a vast collective effort is needed. We will release as free and open source software all the software we write for the needs of the software heritage and openly describe our technical architecture and processes. We will encourage the emergence of an open network of peers and mirrors that will share with us the responsibility of maintaining available several copies of all the software we collect. And share. We are building the largest archive of software source code ever assembled. We will index, organize, and make referenceable and accessible all of this precious heritage. We will provide unique identifiers, that being the SWHID I mentioned earlier, intrinsically bound to the software components. This will ensure the resilient web of knowledge can be built on top of the software heritage archive. Software heritage will foster the emergence of a variety of services ranging from documentation to classification, from search to distribution, to release all of the potential of this Library of Alexandria of software. Now, these two collect and preserve link out to separate things as well. Software is an essential part of our lives. Let's take a look at that one. We need software to communicate with our family and friends, to learn, to teach, to share, to access entertainment or book travels, to pay bills and purchase goods. Software powers the machines we use to travel, communicate, trade, and exchange. Software lies at the heart of large, complex systems, such as medical equipment, airplanes, or power plants, as well as simple individual devices such as cell phones or watches. Our lives depend on software, our industry depends on software, our whole society depends on software. Software is knowledge. Software is fundamental to preserve all digital knowledge. Software in itself is precious cultural heritage. I'll leave this full page link down below if you want to go check it out for yourself. Let's go over to the other one about software being fragile. There are so many ways in which digital information can be lost, altered, or rendered useless. Accidental or malicious human intervention can lead to deletion of important information, and missing, imperfect, or untested backup procedures may prevent its recovery. Change in logical formats or loss of the needed execution environment can lead to the inability to access, read, interpret, validate, or use digital information. Missing or inadequate reference mechanisms can destroy our ability to identify the information that is relevant, even when it is not lost and is still readable otherwise. And encryption protects our privacy, but also prevents the recovery of information in case the keys are lost. A few examples are worth 1,000 words. We will never truly know the amount of work that went into fixing Y2K before the, Y2K date. Is it because the important instances of the bug were fixed in time, or were there just no bugs to begin with? Engineers from the time will tell you this was a very serious problem, but there's very few pieces of code evidence that show the work that was actually being done at the time to make sure this didn't become a major deal. And there are people that now legitimately think that Y2K was never actually real, that this was just media nonsense, media hype for a problem that was never actually going to happen. The reason why it never happened is all this work that went into it, but we can't reference that work because most of it doesn't exist anymore. Malicious attack of software infrastructure. In the summer of 2014, an attacker gained access to the Codespaces control panel and demanded money in exchange for releasing control back to Codespaces. When Codespaces didn't comply and tried to take back control over its own services, the attacker began deleting resources. Codespaces was a company offering hosting solutions for software development, and this attack seriously endangered all software hosted there. Shutdown of software development services. In March of 2015, Google announced the demise of the widely used and greatly appreciated Google Code Service that was used for years since its launch in 2006. While a migration calendar was announced by the end of 2016, all the code hosted there was gone, with just a few exceptions. What about the important piece of software whose maintainers had gone offline? Who will take care of this knowledge at risk of being lost? Shut down of software development services again. In May of 2015, Gitorious also announced that its free software development hosting services would be discontinued. Thanks to the effort of the archive team, a read-only copy of the software projects originally developed on Gitorious will be maintained, but for how long? And what will we do when the next merger, acquisition, or change in business priority of some major software development actor comes by? And inadequate reference mechanisms. It is well known that URLs do not provide persistence. There is no general guarantee that a URL which at one point points to a given object continues to do so, from Tim Berners-Lee. And yet, that is still the mechanism most commonly used for referencing information that should be accessible in the long term, like scientific articles, with disastrous consequences when it comes time to finding the software that is important for a particular experiment or application. The half-life of a referenced URL is approximately 4 years from its publication date. Now, things are better in certain areas and if you use massive services and things like that. But, yeah, I'm not really surprised like this. And it's probably like this if you're dealing with code that is hosted on random Git instances as well. So I am glad to know about the Software Heritage Archive, and I hope you are as well. Check it out, see what you can find, and yeah, let people know this exists, because apparently no one ever talks about this. So let me know your thoughts down below. Did you know about this service? Is it just me that had no idea? And if it was, well, you watched the video anyway, so it is what it is. If you like the video, go like the video, go subscribe as well, and if you really like the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon subscribe Daily Bearer Pay linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and this is cool.